Welcome back to the Brighton Chamber Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Harris, and today I'm joined by Christel Meyer, the owner and publisher of Stroll, Oak Pointe.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
So, what is Stroll, Oak Pointe?
Well, Stroll Oak Pointe is a social newsletter specifically just for Oak Pointe. I am a franchisee owner of the publication, and it goes specifically to this community. But what makes us very different and very fun is we have over 500 newsletters nationwide in all 50 states, and I can cross-sell into any publication nationwide, which is really cool. So together, we're one, but separate, we're business owners.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to start it? Like, was there already a Stroll, Oak Pointe before, and you just kind of picked up that name, or you started it?
I started it, and I wouldn't have started it if I wasn't trying to promote my own business in the Stroll that is in Hidden Lake, which is in South Lyon. And it's interesting because when I called Jenny, I was promoting my esthetician business, and I was like, I'm just a one-trick pony, and like I just started, and now it's not the good time. And she said those magical words, "Have you ever thought of doing something like I do?" And I'm like, I've never even seen it. I don't even know what you do. And so from that point, she's like, just kind of look into it and see. It's very fulfilling. It's very fun. It is a job, but if you could stay the course and do what you're supposed to do, then it just totally turns out to be very fun. And I'm like, okay. And like a year and a half, 2 years prior, I went to esthetician school as a 49-year-old, and I told my husband, I said, this opportunity came up, and he's like, you just went to college. You just went to get certified as an esthetician, and now you're on to this next thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel pulled to it for some reason. And so I went through the 4 interviews, and years back, my dad passed when I was like 22 years old. And I've always felt like he was the one angel by my side helping me get those jobs because they always came easy. Things fell in my lap. And I'm like, oh, I'm hired over the phone. Cool. Like, all right. So I go to this 4th interview, and I said, I'm a responsible person. If I do get this, what day would I be starting so I can let my business know? Because I was working at Lifetime Fitness in Novi. And he said, you'll be starting on March 27th. And that was my dad's birthday. And I was just like, okay, like something's pulling me, pushing me. And I felt like, it's where I needed to be. And I literally started calling businesses and built from the bottom up the businesses that are in front of the Oak Pointe community now. So I started it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot, and it was very like aha at the end. And then it was just like, oh, okay, I have to still have meetings, still do a publication, and still like do events. And I'm like, okay, big girl panties on.
So with that, what kind of articles are in the magazine every month?
Yeah. So, nationwide, our whole purpose of this is it is a publication about the community that you are supporting. And so typically, like this is our chamber, women of business, and Tina Jackson here she lives in the community. But typically it's residents that live in the community, like Tanya and Sam here. It's usually a family pictured on the cover. And here's another one. This one's super cute. Young family there, the Smiley family. Mm-hmm. The lead story is about them. And so all of these families are recommended by the previous family. It's like, do you want to tell the community about yourself? And they're like either yes or no, or yes, I want to be on the cover, or can we do maybe a precious pet? So there's always a precious pet in the newsletter, which is very popular. And then there's always a Making a Difference article, which is about a nonprofit that's local. And then I always try to incorporate a recipe and things like that. Kim Linga, who gives recipes each month, and she does Health Matters column, she is a wellness guru. And so she lives in the community, and she has been giving me content from the beginning, which I really, really appreciate. And also the Pikellas, they advertise on the back of our newsletter here. And they do a column as well because they live in the community about their podcast, which they do here.
Yeah, quick shout out for them.
Yeah. So, it's really cool. Also, another column that we just started is about gymnastics. And so Sarah Farrick she used to do gymnastics, and I believe she was a cheerleader, I think. But she's doing gymnastics at the Legacy Center. So working with the kiddos with the gymnastics program, which, helps with their self-confidence and helps with, obviously exercise. So she just started that. And so she's doing a column each month on why gymnastics is, a probable class for, the kids in Oak Pointe to take part of, just to give her a shout out and more visibility.
So how big exactly is Oak Pointe?
Yeah. So, Oak Pointe is, from the outside, it doesn't look very big, but Oak Pointe used to be a beautiful campground. It was Burroughs Inn was the campground. And so the Ford community would go to this campground and vacation every year. And so that's why it's such a picturesque place to be, is because it used to be a campground. And so there's like 1,000 mailboxes that this newsletter goes to, a little over 1,000. And so the condos, the villas, which are detached condos, and then the homes around the lake and inside the Oak Pointe community receive this newsletter. And so it's really quite big. And we also do digital that helps our businesses to be able to gain more visibility. And they get seen probably around 12,000 views a month. So, that's a lot of views.
Yeah.
In 1,000 homes. So.
Yeah. So talking about the businesses, what businesses would you recommend should advertise in the magazine?
Yeah. So it is an untouched resource. So any business can advertise. Like Wayne Media could advertise, but would they be advertising to the businesses within the community to have their podcast? But most businesses are seen as viable. But the best businesses to be aligned with Stroll are the ones that the business can go inside the home. So interior designers, kitchen and bath, garage door companies, garage flooring companies, like home improvement. Because when N2 chooses a neighborhood to support, they're not going to choose the neighborhood that is brand new. They're going to choose a neighborhood that is very well established, that may need, home improvement to facilitate a publication for them to have for free. Because not one resident has to pay for this beautiful newsletter each month. They receive it for free due to the advertisers. So the question is, anybody can be an advertiser within Stroll. It just means, does it make sense? And so that's why I meet with everybody who is a potential advertiser, just to see if it makes sense for both of us, because it is a partnership.
Yeah, for sure. So how can people submit articles that they would like to have
Sure. Yeah.
in the issue?
So throughout the whole publication, my email is very visible. I do have a QR code in the publication for people to scan and to be able to submit easily, like, hey, I'd like to submit this article. And then I'll send them, a questionnaire to be able to, fill out. Or my last featured family, I met in person and we did like an interview, which I've done a couple of those, and it was really, really cool, like to be able to write that article for them. And, then I gave her the copy, and I said, you have full editorial ability. If you want to delete or add or just enhance this, please do, because this is your article. So they have full autonomy when it comes to what they want in it. Or if they just want a question and answer, like this was the question and that's the answer. My husband's the editor, so he will check the grammar. He's the grammar police.
Yeah. So tell me about the whole process of how an issue all comes together.
It is quite interesting because I am always working 2 months in advance. So now I'm working on July, which is kind of like it messes with my brain. But I always tell businesses that I'm meeting with, if you want to be in June, you need to be in June before the 20th. So the 20th is always my deadline for signing new clients. And that just makes sure that they are going to not be Cinderella, because you are Cinderella and you will lose your slipper and be in the next issue. But how that looks is I gather all my information. I make sure the stories, align with what the residents really want their story to be. And then I submit it in what we call the portal. And it's just like this mysterious computer that I just push accept. And then how that looks is I will have a list of all of my articles that I've submitted. And then when it gets close to my deadline day, which is the 25th, and I'll put the publication in order how I want it to be seen. So it's an order of how, I want everything to look. And then it's probably 8 days later, after the 25th at midnight, is when they just take the publication out of my hands. And about 8 days later, I receive like the first view of the publication. It's always very exciting seeing what it looks like, how they designed it. A lot of times, if I forgot to put the logo, that's where I can start adding these things. Or if there's events that, just happen to pop up, I can add them on the cover. Then I have 3 rounds of revisions I can do. So, the ads are done. They might still be, coming in. So I have to, we call them annotate. So I have to annotate, please put the new ad in here. Please flip this ad to put it closer to the front because it was in the back last time. Or can you please add this on one of the photos, about the family, what they were doing to make sure, everything the resident wanted was on there. And, so I have 3 rounds of those. And then after my 3rd revision, if I choose to have the 3rd, I, go through and make sure everybody's addresses are in, and like the new clients that I've attained have joined. And then I push send, and it's just like, okay. And then I wait and I get this in the mail and I get excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like a living, breathing thing. Because each month it changes so much. It's like, it's crazy. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm already working on July. Like, that's just insane.
To think that far ahead.
Yeah. It really does mess with my head.
So you've talked about some of the different articles that are in it, like Best Pet or just the gymnastics, things like you mentioned earlier. What's your favorite? I'm going to put you on the spot here.
My favorite is the featured family, and the precious pet is always adorable. It's so much fun to hear their cute little stories. Being able to meet the featured family is really kind of like the shining star for me, because I think of myself as a community connector, and to be able to connect the dots to, oh, do you know this person in your community? Do you know this person? And I just love people. And so that's the part I really, really enjoy. But the one that feeds my soul the most is the Making the Difference article. That one, I always try to put in an article about a nonprofit just to gain visibility to the community. And that is the one that I write myself each and every month. I just want them to have that feature to be able, like, there's a lot of people that, are out here that, need a little bit of help. And there's a lot of times when there's nonprofits that nobody's ever heard of. And they're like, oh my gosh, Christel, thank you so much. Like, we didn't even know that this was a thing. So, yeah, it's cool.
That's huge.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
Awesome.
Yeah. So any nonprofits, come out and say, hey, I'll put you in there.
Definitely reach out.
Yeah, definitely.
So is there anything that we haven't touched on today that you'd like to mention?
I'm working on July, and, we're promoting events as well. I mean, obviously, my events don't start until August, so there's some time. But it's July in my world. It's like, whatever. Part of Stroll is we do events. So I do look for partnerships that want to be a part of events. And so if networking is your thing, I call this my mini chamber. And I love being a part of the chamber. Hence this here. I was so excited to add this of the women in business. Really reach out to me, because I would really, it would fulfill my need to connect businesses to this community. It's an amazing community to be a part of.
Definitely. So for people who want to either subscribe to the magazine or just find out more information, where should they go?
Well, they could go to my Facebook page. I do have a landing page on my Instagram page, but also if you just type into Google Stroll magazine and you choose Brighton, then my landing page will pop right up, and you can shoot an email and I'll get it instantaneously, and I will call probably 2 minutes after I get it because I get excited when I see that. I'm like, oh, yay, they found my landing page.
Another person.
Yay.
So we'll definitely be sure to include all those in the description
Thank
below.
you.
Christel, this has been so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to do this. And it's my husband's birthday. Happy birthday, honey.
Happy birthday. So thanks for joining us today as well, and we'll catch you on the next one.